Hello everyone, my name is Sheikh and I'm sitting with one of the brilliant student in Webster University. One is our Mathew Langston. He's a president right now in SGA Association and he is pursuing law and has interest in sports, baseball
Hmm.
and soccer and all those things. And he's a BBQ lover as I remember from your Instagram.
Yes, yes.
And the second one is Brian, who is a amazing sense of humor. I can say he light up the room. If he is with you in a meeting or any serious interview, then you can have wonderful time. As far as I believe so. And I would like to start with one of the most beautiful question. I saw this amazing picture on Instagram. Can you help me? This is a picture I saw Brian and Matthew, and I
This
find
is
it very
on Instagram?
fascinating. I'm curious, how does this friendship begin, and where and how did this begin and came to this way? Would you like to share about your
Right.
friendship? Though?
Do you want to
I
start?
was going to ask you the same question. Well, so it was September 8th, 2022. Wow, we're
Wow.
old.
Yeah.
And Matthew and I were both on budget committee, which is one of the 6 subcommittees in student government. And it was shortly after the midst of the peak of the pandemic, and so we were still trying to get back into certain things on budget committee. And so every semester, every student organization needs to submit a budget, and then budget committee goes through them. Um, this meeting was we made some mistakes in the meeting as a group, and so this meeting we've now gotten down to an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It took 7 hours on a Saturday night.
Yes.
On a Saturday night, and so it gave us time to get to know each other. The first thing that stuck out was Matthew had the Cardinal game on, and so that's first easy thing to talk about is we're both Cardinals fans, so that was the first thing. And then maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, we're like, hey, we should all get Steak and Shake.
Yep.
So I volunteered to drive over to Steak and Shake because I was getting a little bored of just being in the room for so long, and so Matthew came with me to Steak and Shake. Got to learn a little bit of my music taste,
Yeah.
and it's been almost 3 years. It's
Yeah.
been 2.5 years now
Did
since
you
that day.
instantly feel connected with Matthew? It took time to get connected with him.
I think it was pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And what was your first impression on Brian Rubin?
Thought he was a cool guy. I mean, I knew he was a Cardinal fan, and I was trying to make buddies at this time, and so I went up to him, and like the first thing he says is like, "You're a Cardinal fan, right?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And so from that point forward, like that's all we needed. And especially the Steak and Shake drive-through is like a core memory for us. I feel because he had what was it, 1,000 like song playlist that was
Yeah.
pretty good.
We're up to 700.
Yeah, and we shared a lot of the same music tastes, and just I don't know, we just got along. We just joked around. Now we call each other husband and stuff, and people actually think we're married, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, no, there was a group of
But-
freshmen this year. I guess the first time I mentioned Matthew, I referred to him as my husband because we're just so used to saying that now. And so I was talking to somebody earlier this semester. So it took over a semester for people to realize, hey, we're not actually married. We're just really
Yeah.
close friends.
Yeah,
Because the time spent both of you, people actually believe that you two are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what is your favorite music? Though, what kind of bands do you listen to?
This is a great question. I do love some BB King. I just love guitar music. And he's got like this bluesy jazz feel to the guitar that's just amazing. It's an unfortunate reality for me. I like John Mayer a lot. I don't condone some of the stuff he's done, but his music is, I mean, I grew up on it, so I just love it. But yeah, I mean, some of the 80s stuff too, like Hall & Oates is pretty good. So,
What about you? Do you have any favorite songs and any what kind of bands you like?
I kind of just put everything that I've listened to ever on a playlist at this point.
Yeah.
I will say, because of Matthew, I have added 2 John Mayer songs to my extensive playlist. I tell everybody that my favorite band is the Beatles because it's the only band or artist that I have 30 of their songs that I'll listen to, like 30 of their songs that I like. And granted, a lot of artists don't make much more than 30 songs. The Beatles have over 100 songs, but So I say they're my favorite band, and my favorite artist goes in and out of what I'm feeling like. Adele, Bruno Mars, they're all in there somewhere.
Hypothetically, if you were to listen only one song throughout your rest of your life, what song would it be and why? Why do you think that song is you can listen to your entire life?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna need to think about this one for a
So
second.
it's between a couple of ones. Why I Sing the Blues by B.B. King.
Hmm.
It's like 9 minutes long, and it is a masterpiece of a song. Um, Got to throw in John Mayer there. I think I'm going to say Slow Dancing in a Burning Room from his live album, Where the Light Is, because it's just a phenomenal. Like, John Mayer live is like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Um, I think between those two, it'd be a hard choice. I think I'd lean towards Why I Sing the Blues by B.B. King, though.
Okay, but does it have any profound impact in your life? Like, do you when you listen to this song, does it recall your memories?
Yeah,
Perhaps.
I mean, um, it reminds me a lot of my childhood a bit. I listen to blues music a lot. My girlfriend's dad, he's big into like jazz and stuff. So like BB King makes me think of my girlfriend's dad a bit, and I have some good memories with him too. And I also just it always reminds me of summer. It was a song that I got introduced to in the summer, and so like it gets me into that good mood of like relaxed, nothing else to do, driving around Forest Park, just listening to the song. So
Okay. What about you, though?
All right, it took me a second, but I was scrolling through my playlist.
And also, if I may add with this question, do you also sing this song while nobody's watching you, like in your
I'm
house?
always singing, whether people are wanting me to or not.
that's
Okay.
true.
Uh, but no, so okay, out of my I think it's like 705 right now, 705 songs. The two, because I can't pick between them right now, but the two, and they're both because of family reasons, would be either "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban,
Okay.
or "Wind Beneath My Wings" by Bette Midler. And those both have very strong family connections to me, and so I don't think I could go without those songs. So that's why I'm just gonna say those are the two songs that I would pick to listen to for the rest of my life.
Okay. Do you play any of you play any music instruments, or are you fond of any kind of guitar or piano? Do you play anything?
I'll get hyper fixated on piano for like a month and then I'll drop it. So like I can play very basic stuff, but not anything great. I tried to learn guitar, it was way too hard, so I stopped. And I can't sing for crap. So
Yeah, the joke I would always make to people is my instrument are my vocal cords. I was an all-state vocalist in high school. I've done a lot of singing, but I can do like two or three things on the piano. Um, I did violin in elementary school that I can maybe do like the most basic, like I can tell you the string names. That's about it. So no, I don't do a lot of instruments, but I would tell people that my instrument, quote unquote, would be my vocal cords.
I believe you can sing very well. I think so.
he's
Thank
got
you.
an angelic voice. I mean, it's
Coming up to my next question, what are the three people that you would like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
Oh no.
man. Can they be like dead?
Yeah, they
Oh
can be
man.
dead or alive.
Ooh. Ooh. I have a laundry list of people.
Yeah. Because I could go by category too. I could give you three baseball players. I could give you three musicians. I could give you three politicians. Like there's
Yeah.
so many category of people.
The easiest one, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Easiest one for me. That's my guy right there. Like cried at his tomb and stuff. I go there once a year. I'm a nerd.
Would you like to say something about like why do you like him so much?
Why do I like Abraham Lincoln? He is the best president of all time, objectively. I know there's conversation about it and there's good arguments for Washington and some other presidents, but I mean, for me, it was in December of, I think it was 2023. When did I start dating my girlfriend? 2023? um, it was December.
Yes, it was a
He
year
would know.
after me.
But it was December of 2023, and to celebrate our first month of dating, we both are Lincoln nerds. Like we grew up. Her dad's birthday is shared with Abraham Lincoln, and so she was a huge Lincoln nerd, and I just loved presidencies and stuff. And so we went up there, And I'll be honest, I was always the guy that was like, I think Lincoln's cool. You know, he did a bunch of really cool stuff, passed 13th Amendment, won the Civil War, that sort of thing. But I thought, you know, maybe he got a bit too much credit, you know, like maybe there were some flaws with Lincoln. And then once I went there, I saw just, it just convinced me. And I was like, this guy is amazing. And we started at the house. So we went to his like childhood house, which is really kind of crazy because you're like, oh my God, he slept right here. You know, one of his kids died in one of those rooms. You're like, his kid died right here. And then you go to the museum and become Lincoln obsessed and be like, wow, this is so cool. They had a like little follic of his hair with blood still on it, which was crazy. And then you go to the tomb and you're like, oh. So yeah, I'm obsessed with him, but I don't know who the other two would be that I would
I
have.
don't
I just
know.
want to add, is there any specific quality or value or principle you take from Lincoln that you would like to follow in your life?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Lincoln always tried to make the right choice at the right time, and he didn't really care what other people were going to think about that. So I mean, he got elected during a time, obviously, where the country was literally divided. And his ideology was not particularly popular. And he was initially actually kind of resistant to passing the 13th Amendment when he initially got in office. But once the Civil War started, he made the Emancipation Proclamation, said, no, I'm going to take a stand on this. This war is about slavery. And I don't know another politician during that time that could have successfully done that and then continued to pass the 13th Amendment and, have basically been such a pillar of change in the country. I mean, that was the biggest thing that I think has ever been done in America. So,
What about you, though?
So I'm going to add a question for you because if this works, then I have an idea. Does it have to be a real person? Sorry, I'm a journalism major, so I like to ask those the questions that give me a little more information. So does it have to be a real person?
Depends. Do you have any imaginary person in your mind
I have a character, and
from
you're gonna
fiction?
like this answer.
I think it's good if you can go with
Okay, because I
fiction.
think there's too many real people that I would want to meet and have dinner with, dead or alive. But both Matthew and the director of First Year Experience, Billy Rotz, were asking me for probably since the first episode came out to watch Ted Lasso.
oh,
And so
that's a good answer.
I watched all three seasons. I'm super excited for the fourth. But there's a scene that Billy showed us during the Webster Leads class. It's the darts scene, and in that scene, Ted Lasso quotes Walt Whitman. He says, "Be curious, not judgmental." And that one, I added that to my Instagram bio because of how much I like that quote. And so I give credit to Walt Whitman, and then I put also in there Ted Lasso too because that's where I heard it. But just the sheer positivity of Ted Lasso throughout the series, even when things are going so wrong for him, I would like to meet him and talk to him and just kind of get into the brain of Ted Lasso. I think that would be really interesting.
I have watched Ted Lasso for a long, like it's for I think 2 years ago. I loved it, but the third series is not up to my expectation. So they kind of ruined it in the third season. I wish they could go more deeper into stories and so and so. What do you think about his acting though? Let's talk about. I also want to talk about. I watched the Lincoln movie done by Daniel Day Lewis, directed by I think it is Steven Spielberg,
Yes, yeah.
and I was blown away with the performance. And you know that Daniel Day Lewis is one of the great.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think about the Abraham Lincoln movie though?
I watched it over the summer, this past summer, with my father, and we both were crying at the end. So to say I love that movie is an understatement. I think it's, I mean, Steven Spielberg also just doesn't miss. He's fantastic. So it's a phenomenal film. I mean, I always recommend it if someone asks. It's a beast of a film. It's a long one,
Mhm.
but it's so worth it.
I wanted to ask about these. I saw your Instagram and it says Walt Whitman, be curious, not judgmental. How does it help you in your life? How does this code impact in your life though?
Yeah, you know, a lot of people, both currently and in the past, are very and I'm not going to say I'm perfect at this, but are very quick to judge. High school wasn't fun. I don't think high school is fun for anybody, but so a lot of people are just very quick to judge, and so I think if people kind of put that judgment aside and just try to get to know people, then they'd be pleasantly surprised at the amount of just sheer number of good people. And it's hard to continuously say, hey, there's good people in the world, especially with current aspects of life. And I won't get into specifics about that. But there are good people, and if you're just a little bit curious about who people are, if you're not afraid to say hi to someone you don't know, you'd be pleasantly surprised. When I first got here, and I was writing about this in a article for the journal. When I first got here to Webster, I wanted to make sure that college was going to be different than high school because I didn't like a lot of aspects of high school. I liked choir, but
How was
outside
your
of
high
that,
school look like?
oh, it's a typical high school. A lot of cliques, a lot of the popular kids ruled the school, and I was not one of the popular kids, to say the least. So I made sure that was different in college. I didn't necessarily want to be a popular kid, but I wanted to make sure that I had a group of people. And so, for welcome weekend during orientation, I went to every single event, even though I didn't have a whole lot of motivation at the time. And I met, dozens of people at welcome weekend. And then I've just made sure to continuously be involved in things. A little too involved sometimes where I had to take a step back from some things. But, I didn't let the way somebody looked, sounded, acted deter me from going to say hi. And that, I think, was one of the most valuable lessons I've learned here at Webster. And I think Walt Whitman's quote kind of puts it into perspective of if you're curious, not judgmental, then you can learn a lot from a lot of different people.
I believe that's how I know you. That's how I know Matthew. The other day we went to cooking class. It was just cooking, and Matthew was standing outside the class, and nobody knew that he's a president. By the way, I think very few people know, but he didn't seems to bother that I'm a president. I'm standing here. He was just curious to learn. He was curious to make friends, and that's how I got to know real you. I know you, but from that moment I realized, oh my God, this is one of the most generous person I have ever met, and you too. And talking about your high school, I saw. You can stop if I'm being, overstepping. I saw these pictures back
Oh
in your.
man.
It looks like you had amazing time in your high school playing baseball,
Yeah.
and would you like to say something about this picture?
That that is one of the proudest moments I
And this
have.
is the other
Yeah,
one. And I have one more, but I would like to talk to you about the sports, the
man.
baseball, and how did you get interested in baseball?
Um, baseball is. I mean, it surrounds me and Brian's life. But yeah, man, you're bringing back memories right now. Yeah, that is. I mean, single-handedly, the one of the highlights of my life was that game particularly. Actually, so my senior year, won the district championship for Maplewood Richmond Heights High School, and I mean, we didn't just win; we creamed the other teams. I felt a little bad how badly we beat them. But yeah, I mean, I have so many memories from it. I grew up playing baseball as a kid. My brother's really into it, and so I would pitch to him, he'd hit, and so I was a pitcher in high school. And I only really got about 2.5 years to play because we had freshman year, full year, and that was fun. I got to make varsity and play, and then sophomore year I was actually one of the team captains. So you have like 4 team captains, and sophomore year they made me one of them, which was kind of shocking to be quite frank. And they halfway through the season, I shattered my wrist and broke my arm, and I still have arthritis from it, which was kind of a pain. But
Was it a
um,
difficult win for you, or you have to struggle to get an award? Like, is
it's
it?
it's it's a difficult thing. I mean, it took us 4 years to get that trophy, and MRH has only won, I think, 5 in total,
That's a big deal.
and 2 of them were in like the 60s or something. So 3 of them came under the coach Jonathan Webb is his name, and he was my coach for this. But yeah, in that picture, the one with not that one, but actually this one, if you
This
want to
one?
pull that one up, the guy kind of.
Oh, you can
So you
take this
got
picture.
here. I can probably show it here, but so this is me, and then that's AJ. He was our center fielder. He was phenomenal. He was a great center fielder. This is Cashin. He is still one of my closest friends. He lives in Kansas City though, so I barely ever get to see him. But whenever he comes in, I like stop whatever I'm doing and go to a Cardinal game with him. That's Webb. I actually currently work with him in Major League Baseball, which is pretty cool. That's Malcolm. I don't know what he's up to, but he was super chill. He was pretty nice. And that's Clark. I talked to him last week. He's a lawyer. And since I'm interested in law, he gave me some tips on stuff. But yeah, man, that was an intense game. We won 15-0. And it was pretty cool. I loved baseball. It changed me as a person into what I am today. I don't know where I'd be without it. So.
Coming to you, do you have any favorite memory of yours in your high school? Perhaps the baseball sports, or perhaps you may be a part of any music concert or something like that. Would you like to share?
Yeah. Very opposite of Matthew. I stopped playing baseball when the players actually started pitching after. So when you're really young, you start with T-ball, so you have a tee, you hit off a tee, and then you go into machine pitching, so that you stick a ball in the machine and it spits out and you can hit it. But around second, third grade, they start letting the players throw the ball. And my coach at the time moved over to selects, where like a more advanced team, and I just wasn't wanting to do that. And so, I didn't have any activity for a little bit there. And then both my mom and older sister were like, hey, you can sing. Like, you should try theater. And I still remember, I think the audition song I used for my first play was like God Bless America or something like that, because it was the only song I could memorize at the time. And because I hadn't gotten into music yet. So, I just used something super basic. And I still remember the theater teacher in high school, and I did not, I won't get into specifics, but there was some tension there a couple of times. But I still remember I never told her I could sing. And because of the pandemic, we only were able to do one musical in high school. But I will never forget, it was her and it was the choir teacher. So the choir teacher knew I could sing, because at this point I was already in the advanced choir in high school. So he knew I could sing, and, him and I had a good relationship, and but she didn't. And so I'm auditioning for the musical, and I start singing, and her jaw just kind of hits the floor, because she had no idea that I had this like thing in my back pocket of, hey, I'm maybe not the best actor, but I can sing. And so she was just shocked. She's like, Brian, why didn't you tell me you could sing? And I was like, it never came up. And so that was fun in high school. But I think as much as the pandemic was frustrating, I had a conversation with my mom because even though we were all struggling through it, she said that one of her favorite parts was that she got a free concert every day, because we were all online doing class, but I had choir every day. And so, I was in my room, and it's the walls in the house aren't that thick, so you could hear my singing from the family room. And so my mom was like, yeah, I got a free concert every day of me just doing warm-ups or practicing for a song or something like that. But yeah, I think those were a couple of the highlights from high school.
I feel like sports and kind of activities you are describing, we get to know many amazing people along the way. I just want to pause and talk about friendship though. What does friendship mean by you? What do you like? How do you describe friendship? And is there any friend that you can always rely on that person? No matter what happens, you can just call him in 3 p.m., 3 a.m. Just say, hey, I got this. Is there anybody in your life that you can always rely on?
I was going to say, I feel like I'm across from you right now.
Yeah, it's right there.
I want to know, what does friendship mean by you? Like, how do you describe friendship?
I'll let you start with this one.
Oh man, that's a deep question, bro. I don't know. Always having someone's back. I mean, I think there's an element of love, right? Like, I think, me and Brian, whenever I'm leaving, I'm always saying, love you, man. Because, I love the guy. I obviously want him to know I love him. So I think there's an element of love, but, not just like, just saying I love you, but like behind that, knowing you got his back, you care about that person. And at the end of the day, you always are going to try to help them out, and they'll always help you out. I know in a moment's notice. I know when I call Brian, he picks up the phone because he knows that I don't call anybody. So, and I've literally called him one time about like SGA or something, And he picks up and goes, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Aw." But like, yeah, no, it's just always having your buddy's back and always having a good time with them too. So
But I'm curious though, since you are graduating, you both are graduating, and you will have different destination, different location. Will would you be able to keep up with the kind of friendship you have right now?
yes, absolutely, yeah,
What do you say about?
Well, so I'm going to backtrack for a second. I think we've gotten to the point where my trademark answer when I get a phone call is, "Hey, are you okay?" Because of how many like random phone calls I'll get from people that don't typically call, or even people that do call if it's in the middle of the day and like it's not a typical time that they'd call. I'd be like, "All right, what's wrong?" Like, and we had a friend that hurt her foot and she called me in the middle of the day, and I ended up I ended up beating the public safety officers to her apartment because she lives on campus because I was like, okay, like it'll be okay. Um, but I also have learned that my statute of limitations on how long I can go without talking to somebody is 3 days. I won't get into the specifics because it's a lot. But after that 3 days, Matthew had texted me and I hadn't answered just because I was having some personal issues, and so he called or he texted my sister because
Yeah.
we live in the same apartment complex. He's like, "Hey, can you go check on him?" Just because she's closest, she can go make sure I'm okay. And so I get a knock at my door from my sister. I was like, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "Look at your phone. like answer Matthew." And so that's if that doesn't show just a state of true friendship and like being there for somebody, I don't know what does. But no, I think even though we're graduating, we were joking about looking at the same places to work because
Yeah.
that would be we get into some trouble, but
Oh,
it
yeah,
would be
yeah.
fun. And I think one of the benefits is I don't think either of us are planning on leaving St. Louis, at least not right now. And as much as I will hate on or say I don't want to use social media outside of like maybe Instagram and Facebook, I've deleted all my other social media. Like I don't like social media, but it is a benefit to living in the day that we're living in now. If I can't see Matthew 5 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever it is, I can text him.
Yep.
I can call him if I really need something because he does not like phone calls. Um, so if I call him, he also knows something's wrong
Yes.
because we have that understanding that texting is easier and better to do. And so, we do have these devices on us at all times that if I'm missing Matthew, I'll just be like, "Hey, what's up? You want to get dinner?"
Yep.
Uh, I have a friendship with my friends. The one we used to high school friends. We still keep in touch. They're in Australia. One is in England and some different countries. So we have this rule: 8 minutes. So suppose you both are busy and sometimes you want really bad to our friend to pick our phone up because this is the moment that you want to share something. Something happened, good or bad, and that person seems to be busy in his life. So we came up with this rule called 8 minutes. We just write 8 minutes saying that means this is important. So that is a signal for our friendship. We never see each other. It's been 3 years we see, but we still talk every day. So I think it is a priority when it comes to friendship. As long as you want to keep this priority, as long as you want to maintain that kind of relationship, regardless of the technology, regardless of your schedule, I think you can do that. And I just want to divert the topic from friendship to career. What is the worst advice that you have ever heard from somebody, and what is the best advice at the same time? Do you remember any worst and best?
I have a best. The best advice I ever got was from one of my professors because we were talking about. I mean, there's not a whole lot of stuff in journalism right now for a lot of different reasons, and journalism is a very competitive field, and so he told me he's like, don't A, know your worth, but B, don't do a free internship. Don't do one that you don't get paid for because yes, internships are great, and he tells us to do internships. Like that's one of his three main aspects of a good college career is doing internships. But yes, internships are great for building professional skills, but you also should be getting paid for it. And I don't remember which professor told me that or which person told me that, but I do know it was
Are you
somebody.
quoting Joker, Heath Ledger? because he said something like that. Never do it free. If you are talented, then never do it for free.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily a talent thing as much as it's I mean, if you're doing something, then you should have some sort of return, whether that be knowledge or a financial return. Um, but I do remember being told don't do free internships because even though they might lead to something, they might not.
Hmm.
And so at least you know that you're having some financial security if you're having a
Yes.
paid internship. Um, I haven't gotten a whole lot of bad
Yeah, I can't even
advice.
think of any
Like
bad.
we're very lucky here.
Yeah. I'd say for advice for me, I could go two routes here. I could go career or I could go personal. Um, Career wise, I mean, right now, I would say it was a piece of advice Jen Stewart gave me last year when I was still thinking about whether or not, one, if I'd run for president, and two, if I'd even stay at Webster, because I was thinking about just graduating and leaving because I had the credits. And she said, don't rush college. You only get 4 years here. Why not, do it? And so that was one of the best pieces of advice because in this past year, I feel like so much has changed about me because I've learned a lot about my leadership style in general through the presidency, but mostly I've learned like what I want to do with my life. And so now 1 year ago today, I didn't know if law was something I'd even consider. And now I'm actually thinking about studying for the LSAT and going to law school. I'm still figuring that out, but like I'm applying for paralegal jobs, and that's like kind of my trial period of okay, what's a law firm like? Can I just because I know paralegal and lawyer is different, but I just want to see what it's like. But the other piece of advice I'd probably say right now is actually a bit of a piece of advice Brian gave me, and it's personal, and that is ask out Eliana, who is my girlfriend. So he just basically was like, "Hey, ask her out," and then I asked her out, and the rest is history, and we've been dating for 2 years. So
Are you guys glad that there are some decisions didn't work out in your life? And what are those decisions? Perhaps you wanted to do something different. If not journalism, what would be what are the field that you would be investing your time and energy in? And somehow it didn't work out. And if you were given an opportunity again, would you pursue journalism and you go different direction though?
Well, I've had this kind of conversation with people before. There are two things that I have said, or that I have said that I wish that I would have done, but thinking about it realistically, I'm glad I didn't. The first being freshman year, I ran for SGA for a senator at large position, and I didn't win that race. That's so I ended up running again the next semester and getting the senator position, which was good. But I don't know what would have happened if I would have been on SGA at that point. I don't know if I would have been put on budget committee the next year, and I don't know if we would have met had it not been for that. So, like, I've been told a multitude of times things happen for a reason. And I fully believe that if I didn't lose that first race, I'm not sure we would have met, at least in the same way. And then the other thing is I want to backtrack by or like start by saying I have so much gratitude for the people and the professors in the business school, but I wasn't a huge fan of some of the classes I took in the business school, just because it wasn't as much of an interest for me. And so that's a personal thing. That's not anything about the school because the school is amazing. Um, but I've said for a couple to a couple people, I'm like, I kind of wish I would have done like a humanities degree, like a political science or a history or something like that. Um, but backtracking again, I mean, if we had class together before SGA, I don't know what that would have looked like. I'm a lot
Yeah.
different in class than I am outside of class. I've been told to stop talking in classes because I'm just yapping about a topic, and so I probably would have gotten on your nerves in a class. Um, but so again, things happened for a reason, and I don't. I try not to live with regrets. And so you just kind of got to find the silver lining in those things that you might want to regret, but think about what would have happened had you done something like that.
What would you say, if not law or paralegal? What are the other individual field or discipline you would see yourself?
I'd be in a completely, I'd probably be in a completely different scenario in my life because honest to God, when I was in high school, it was, do I go into acting or do I go into political science? And I came to the conclusion that I think acting was not something I wanted to pursue because, yeah, you could be famous, but also you can be dirt poor and, waiting tables for the rest of your life. And it's just, I cared a lot about politics and all that stuff, so I wanted to do that. But I mean, to Brian's point, everything happens for a reason. I also ran in that same election that Brian lost. I ran for that same position, and I also lost. We both lost, I think, by the same number of votes as well. And I regularly do wonder what would have happened if I'd won that election. But honestly, looking back, I'm happy I lost that election because at the end of the day, it changed my whole trajectory, and I got to meet Brian, and eventually I got to meet my current girlfriend and everything. So, yeah, I mean, those sorts of things. I'm very happy I didn't do acting. I do live with a bit of like, man, I miss acting, but like, it's fine.
By the way, I saw again, I was going through research, so I saw some of your pictures. It looks amazing. The kind of performance you have given over here, I got this picture.
Yeah.
And you also wrote that this show will forever hold a special place in my heart.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about this show though?
Yeah. This is Wait Until Dark. I'm trying to remember the character's name. I think it was Mike is who I played. And the show is about basically a blind woman. So the woman in that photo is the blind character, and she's the main character. And her husband has left for the weekend, and they have a doll there that has heroin inside. And this one evil guy named Rote is trying to get Mike and this other person, who's actually played by Zach, who's on SGA with us, to steal this doll in a very elaborate way. And I loved it because I had been begging our theater teacher to do it. We'd studied this show in class, and I really loved it. And I initially was going for the evil character when I auditioned. I was trying to be Rote because at the time I'd been in like 6 plays previously, and every one of them I played the evil character, which is like crazy because like I don't think I'm an evil guy. I think I'm fine. Maybe some other people may say some things differently, but I auditioned and came out with the Mike character, which actually ends up being at the end of the show, like the guy that tries to take a stand to Rote, and spoiler alert, he gets killed. And it just was kind of shocking. It was like my first foray into playing a nice character, and it was kind of like some complexity, and having that complexity was nice. Not to mention I got to do the character with Zach, who's a very close friend of mine, and we had very good chemistry. And then Paul Schimmeler, he goes to UMKC. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but he was fantastic as well. He played Rote, and he was phenomenal to work with as well. And I just have a lot of memories. Like one of the funny ones is I think we had a night performance, and then the next day was going to be a matinee. And at the end of the show, I get stabbed, and I have to fall down a staircase. And so I get stabbed, I fall down the staircase, and I hit the bottom. And I guess I didn't slow myself down enough, and I broke the staircase. And so they had to fix it within like the next couple of hours. But they were chewing me out about it because they're like, "Why'd you do that?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't know I would break the damn staircase." So it was fun. I that was definitely probably my favorite show I ever had. And that was honestly I think one of my last ever shows like that. It was actually on stage because that was junior year right before COVID hit. So
Glad that you could your acting though.
yeah.
I want to ask you something. Do you have how can I this? Who are 3 people in your life that impact your life professionally and personally, and who inspired you along the way, who guided you along the way? Who are those people that guided you throughout your life? Are there any mentors of yours? Are there any favorite person of yours in your life?
I mean, the first person I'm gonna say, and you're already laughing because of how often I talk to her. My mom.
Yeah.
And I know that's a very common answer, but it's definitely my first answer. She's my emergency contact when I need something. She's the first person I call when something happens, good or bad. She arguably knows more about me than I know about me sometimes. So definitely my mom. Her mom was a big influence in my life. She passed away in 2019. But my dad would get frustrated because I would call my mom first, and then I would call her mom second before calling my dad when something good happened. And she lived in Florida for my life, so like I didn't get to see her in person as frequently, but we would talk on the phone all the time. And so up until 2019, and still even though she's passed, like there are things that I take with me that she has taught me. And my dad, obviously, I'm just going to go in order of the way I called people. My dad has made a huge impact in my life too. I'm very fortunate to have two parents that care about me very much. But to your point, Jen Stewart has been one of the greatest mentors I've ever had. And then I'm gonna talk about you too. The last 2.5 years, I've learned a lot from you. I've been very grateful for the first 2.5 years, and I hope we have another 250 years if that's humanly possible.
I hope.
Yeah. But yeah, there's another quote that was flying around that, and I don't know who said it, and I don't actually know the whole quote in its entirety, but it's something along the lines of your life is like a book, and some people are only meant to be in your that book for a chapter, and some people are meant to be in it for the whole book, and
like
and
that.
so I that's another quote that I just try to like make sure like, hey, it's okay that people aren't gonna be in my life for the whole book. Some people come in a little later. You came in almost 20 years, 20 chapters. Let's say each year of your life is a chapter. You came in almost 20 chapters in, but I hope you're there until the book's over, kind of thing. And I have a really good group of friends right now that I hope are going to be in that book for the rest of it. And so I think just finding those people is super important too. I could list all the people that have meant a lot to me, but I think we'd be here for an hour. So I won't list everybody, but those are a few that have really impacted me.
Seems like you share a special bond with many people in your life. Like you have this deep connection with every person. Like coming from your family to school, university. So I think you will go far. I mean, in
Thank
terms
you.
of your book, I believe it would be interesting and colorful. What about you though? I'm just curious.
Man.
Who are the three people that inspired you more, or you consider him as a mentor?
I got to copy Brian, man. My mother. So my mother and my father, I guess. I mean, they're both the reason I have a obsessive thing about politics is my dad was mayor when I was born of our local town, Maplewood, and he was mayor from 2001 to 2009, and he had a significant impact on the community and kind of lifted us up and helped us out, and we were about to be bankrupt and he prevented that from happening.
Is there any
Um,
quality that you pick up from your dad? Perhaps
um,
you never describe him, but
there's
secretly,
Well, my potty mouth, that's definitely one for sure. He has a sailor's mouth.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think sailor's mouth, obviously. I think I get my public speaking from him because he's pretty darn good public speaker. And just kind of like my neurotic, like, I have to get this done comes from him and my mom. But yeah, no, my mom is a huge inspiration for me too, because she was on the school board for 15 years, and she was one of the longest serving Maplewood Richmond Heights school board presidents ever. I think she was it for 3 years, or no, 4 years, which is pretty long for a job that doesn't pay at all. It was completely volunteer, and she did it during good times, during really bad times, and was really successful in it. And by the end of it,
what is the one quality that you admire most about your mom?
oh man,
I'm sure
there's
there are
there's
hundreds,
so
but
many.
if you had to pick one, and you too, Brand,
I have one easily.
and from your grandmother as well, you said one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I easily have one for my mom.
Hmm.
And I credit her to why I am able to have some of this. It's her empathy.
Mm.
I mean, if you've met my mom, my mom can make friends with anybody. We could be in line at the grocery store, and the person behind us in line could have asked a question, and then they become best friends in the line. Like, that's just the person that my mom is. And empathy is such a crucial thing that I wish everybody had. Not everybody does, and it's not necessarily always the easiest thing to have, but I credit her for why I have some and why she has probably the most of anybody I've ever met. You know, yeah, I'll just stop there because I don't want to get into it too much.
Yeah, I mean, for my mom, it's empathy, but it's just this sort of, she always knows exactly what to do. And whether that be I come home and I had a really bad day and something bad happened and I just need to talk to her and she just knows exactly what to tell me, or she knows how to calm me down. It's just, I'm sure almost anyone with a mom like has that feeling like, okay, I can go to mom and she'll know what's going on. And so that's really nice, to have somebody that just, I know at the end of the day, if I have something that's really bothering me, my mom is gonna handle it. And so yeah, I'm a couple years away from when she first had my brother, and I don't know how the hell she, at that age could be so wise. Like, that is remarkable to me. And yeah, I look up to her more than anyone else,
Some
I
of the
think.
things that our parents does, I'm still surprised how do they do that. Like
Yeah.
we have this small assignments and class, we are unable to do those kind of work, and they are taking care of us for a long time, family bills and all those things. It just surprised me. One of the thing I learned from my mom is never rely on anybody,
Mm.
even if it is your own. She's always independent. She will be independent. She runs her own business. She is a very businesswoman. She has this, we have 12 members in our family, but she never expect anything from any person. And I think that is a quality that I secretly admire about her,
Mhm.
not relying on anybody. It can be a burden in the
Yeah.
older times. So I would like to shift the topic from this to, I would like to talk about the movies. What are the three best movies that you like, and why do you like these movies?
Best
You have,
quality or like movies we could just watch and enjoy?
yes, the word, whatever you, three favorite movie that you watched many times, you
Okay.
can say that. And there should be a reason why, right? And you can explain why too. I'll start with Brian.
I feel like I need to preface with the movies that I have seen. The percentage of the movies in the world that I have seen is not satisfactory to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes. Objectively, yes.
So
It's all children's movies.
maybe it's because I want to enjoy my childhood a little bit longer. I don't know, but a lot of the movies I have watched do fall into the children's movie category. The movie I always go with is Guardians of the Galaxy. The
Part one?
soundtrack
Yeah.
is arguably the best soundtrack in any movie I've ever seen. Just because I also really like 80s music. So, that's the thing that I credit my dad the most for is my music taste, especially from the 80s. Like, he has taught me that the AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, like those bands are a part of history and should be listened to still. But, Guardians of the Galaxy I always go to. I've watched a lot of new movies this school year. Jen told me to watch The Princess Bride, so that's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I La La Land was amazing. But yeah, I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy I always say is my favorite. I could throw baseball movies in there. Field of Dreams, A League of Their Own. I got to go to Field of Dreams. That was really cool. 42, Jackie Robinson Day was yesterday. 42 is one of the greatest baseball movies of all time.
Yeah.
With Harrison Ford.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you though?
Man. Spider-Man No Way Home. That one's an easy one for me just because Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield grew up on them, and then Tom Holland's been like just the guy, and I cried for an hour and a half at that film. I still cry. I still cry when Aunt May dies. Spoiler, but Aunt May dies.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, we're gonna fix that. But no, that movie.
There's always a debate between Tom Holland versus Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Which one do you think people like more?
In terms of films, I will say I think Tobey Maguire has the better films and the more accurate depictions of Spider-Man. Well, and that's okay. I could go back and forth on this. I think Tom Holland has a great Spider-Man. Like when he is in the suit, that is Spider-Man.
Mhm.
But I think Tobey Maguire is like one of the best Peter Parkers. I have the controversial opinion that I actually think Andrew Garfield is the best of them all, and that he was just plagued by bad writing. And if he had actually had a good writing team and like an actually like good, everything, he would have been objectively one of the best Spider-Man ever. And I think Spider-Man No Way Home kind of like proved that a bit because his Peter Parker's phenomenal. His Spider-Man's phenomenal. He put so much care into that role and just was phenomenal. I could go on for hours about Spider-Man. I mean, I'm sure I have. So, but after Spider-Man No Way Home is actually a children's movie. So I give Brian crap about this,
There you
but
go.
I actually do enjoy children's movies too. Cars. Everyone sees that coming, actually.
Yeah.
So I named my first car Sally after the character from Cars, and my now car is Lightning after Lightning McQueen because it looks like Lightning McQueen a bit. I just that was the movie I grew up watching, and then third is a harder one.
You made me watch it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah.
Inglorious Bastards. That's a very gory film,
Mhm.
so it's very different. Takes place during World War II, and it's
Tarantino.
yeah, Tarantino film. It does hold a bit of a special place in my heart because Eliana and I, when we were first kind of flirting with each other and stuff, and we were going bowling or something, and she said her favorite movie was Inglorious Bastards, and at the time that was my favorite film, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go out with this woman, and I knew that was the moment that she was the one. So yeah, I mean, there's that, but also it's just like the first, I think, real piece of cinema I watched was Inglourious Bastards, and that's what got me into like film and stuff. And so
My favorite film, I would say Benjamin Button. Have you seen?
it's a good one.
Brad Pitt, one of the best movie with amazing screenwriting and story, the quotes and everything. We'll just wrap it up. And last question, I want to ask: how was your experience in Webster so far? And do you have any favorite memory in Webster moments, perhaps?
Boy. Well, funny you mentioned that because last night at the journal meeting, and the journal, for those who don't know, is our school's newspaper. Um, I started and finished a draft of 10 things I learned as a graduating Gorlock. I was proud of the title. I thought it was cute, but whatever. And so we're going through the edits on that now. Because I've been reflecting on the last 4 years. I only name dropped one person in the entire article because I didn't want to forget anybody.
Oh, was it me?
It was
It
you.
was me.
So, I would definitely say that budget committee meeting, even though 7 hours is a long time to be talking about budgets, that's got to be a highlight.
Yeah.
I think, and then some of the other highlights are just some of the people that I've gotten to meet. I tell people all the time, if you would have told me before coming to college that I would have interviewed an Olympic athlete, a sports writer for the Cardinals, a broadcaster for the Iowa Cubs, just a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, I would have laughed. I would have said, there's no way that those are the people I'd be talking to. And I've gotten to interview those kinds of people. And so those kinds of things were really cool. And then our headliners, like Campus Activities does, Steve Burns, who was Steve in Blue's Clues, I got to meet him for a second. And that meant a lot to me because Blue's Clues was one of my favorite shows growing up. We met Adam Conover. So the people, I think, is what makes Webster so great, whether it be people we bring in, people on campus. A lot of people say Webster is a family, Webster is a community, and I could not agree more. Because I have found people I consider family on this
Can certainly
campus.
agree with your family. On
Yes.
this. What about you? Do you have any favorite? And
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have many, but
Oh yeah.
is there any specific memory you have?
I think I'd say two. I'd obviously say our budget committee meeting because, I mean, not only did I get to meet the fantastic person that's sitting across the table from me, and that would change my life forever, but it also was sort of when I fell in love with SGA and realized, like, okay, I think I've found something here at Webster that I actually really want to do because my freshman year I didn't do much, and I kind of felt a little lost, I'll be frank, and doing that budget committee meeting and realizing, like, this is really fun. I really like this. And the other thing is honestly my first orientation weekend with first year experience. That That was last year, and that alone made me go, I know I'm going to stay one more semester, not the one our junior year.
Okay.
Yep. So that alone made me realize like I need to stay another semester and do this again, because that was like, I mean, Billy Rotz, the our boss, is phenomenal. He's a funny guy and really fun to work for, and just, that was so much fun. And obviously I got to meet Eliana through that all, but I made a lot of friends too, and learned a lot about Webster, and kind of realized like this is the university I go to. I got that separation from SGA because all I'd known at that point really was SGA, so I got to see what was outside of that. And yeah, I mean, it's what made me stay for another semester, and then Jen's what convinced me to do the full year. So
Sometimes I regret that I didn't come here sooner. Perhaps if I would have come 1 year or 2 years ago, maybe I would have known both of you. Maybe I would have become a friend with both of you. And I regret that. I deeply regret that. But I'm glad that we are in the moment.
yeah.
Last question: what do you say about the election right now? Do you have any thoughts about SG election?
Oh, the SGA
Oh,
elections.
SGA
Oh, okay, I was I got a little nervous there. Matthew and I are both very politically brained, and so I thought we were talking about the November election, and I was not going to comment on that one. But I'm a lot of people are stressed right now, but I am kind of, it's gonna sound bad, but I'm happy that we have races going on, like, because
We haven't had them.
I mean, I ran unopposed for comptroller for this year. I ran unopposed for student orgs the year before. So I'm happy that we have multiple people that are interested in multiple positions. I've casted my votes, and that's about all you can do. That you can vote for people, tell people to vote for people, but at the end of the day, the numbers will say what'll happen.
Yep.
What about you? Do you have any thoughts on election?
Yeah, I mean, to be quite frank, I'm a bit happy I'm graduating soon. I don't have to run. But yeah, I mean, just happy that there's an election going on. There's some contested things going on, and because we haven't had that. I ran for president unopposed, so yeah. I mean, I voted already. Brian's leaving. Bye, Brian.
I have class in 2 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Just last one. Is there any favorite quote that you want to share with us?
No, I think that my favorite quote right now is still that Walt Whitman quote of be curious, not judgmental.
Okay. We'll wrap this up. Do you want to share imagine you have a gigantic billboard and you want to spread the message. What would be the message to
Oh,
millions
man.
and billions of people?
Oh
What
man,
would you say?
that's a great question. Man, that's a deep question. That's hard hitting. I can't even think of anything right now. I mean, I'd probably say relax. I think a lot of people, I mean, especially myself, overwork ourselves and get caught up. I mean, even right now, this whole week with elections going on, it's very stressful. It's anxiety inducing, and I think we all just need to take a step back and take care of ourselves. Or the other one would just be literally just family, just the word family. And that doesn't have to be immediate family. That doesn't have to be your mom, your dad, your brother. Your family is the people you surround yourself with and who you care about. And so, like, my friends are my family. And, always just taking care of your family and, being there for them and knowing that they are there for you as well. So,
I quite like that, and thank you so much for making time for this podcast.
thank you.
I didn't thought that you can come to my podcast, and this was such a good experience for me.
Yeah, I loved it. This was fantastic.
Thank you so much once again, and I hope we continue to share our friendship in future.
Yes.
I hope I can call you in future.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.